No, absolutely. It's increasing with a great pace, and I think there's a huge future. And I really feel that we're just scratching the surface at this point of time.
Well, that's a good question. We've been part of this journey, and we've been probably one of the first ones to really take the journey to the cloud for financial institutions as Accenture. We've started this journey back in 2015 and maybe before that as well. We've seen initial hindrances. Banks have been skeptical about moving to the cloud, but then eventually, as we see, and we have a very great example, the whole national infrastructure itself is being set up on cloud. So certainly, I do not see a reason why banks should really worry about the journey to the cloud. And there's only benefits from this.
I believe it's increasing because in the last few years, the amount of development that has happened on the cloud and the technical aspects on the cloud and the comfort that central banks have now started having with banks deploying their systems on the cloud has increased, which is not the case about a few years back. And hence, because of the shift of the central bank's stance on adoption of cloud, we see a lot of banks in the region willing to go on the cloud. And it was prior to maybe a year or back, the banks didn't want to put their core systems on the cloud. But with the change in stance from the central bank and the regulations being more allowing the banks to be on the cloud, there's a faster rate of adoption that we see with the banks in the region going on the cloud, yeah.
So, I mean, from a cloud migration, you got to think about what's really going on, right? One of the very important things that is going on the cloud side is the fact that it's getting more and more secure, which has been one of the primary concerns that the banks have. So by that definition, there is definitely a big interest among banks to migrate a lot of workloads into the cloud. Now, like any other businesses, they've started with workloads which have not been, financially heavy. So things like emails and applications like those have definitely got migrated. But now is the time that we are seeing a lot of interest from banks in terms of moving some business workloads into the cloud. So yes, it's definitely accelerating. The more conversation is happening, the more security is building in within cloud. I think it's definitely catching attention. And the good part about this is whether it's the market infrastructure makers like Swift or any of these kind of infrastructure makers, or it could be large banks or large financial institutions, they all are going with cloud first as a strategy. So that is giving a lot of confidence to the rest of the industry, saying that, okay, there is definitely something that we can move to the cloud. So yes, absolutely, it's accelerating.
So in my view, I think banks are rapidly moving towards cloud implementation as compared to the on-prem technology. There are various benefits to it, lower cost of IT, quicker implementation costs. So in my view, I think it's a rapidly changing environment where most of the banks or financial institutions are moving towards cloud implementation. CBD is committed to that, and we started our journey of moving to cloud around 2 years back with our supply chain platform on cloud. And it's a tough, implementation for banks because of a lot of complexity, but we are moving towards that.
So with every day passes, the pace of migration to the clouds is increasing because over a period of time, the banks, the neobanks, the legacy banks, they have realized the potential that they have in store. If they migrate to the cloud, the ease of operation, the ease of making changes, and the ease of migrating the systems is very seamless when you are on the cloud. So benefits, all these benefits that you accrue over a period of time. Good thing is that these can be passed on to the customers also and create a good value proposition. So it is increasing, of course.
No, I think, Ken, the rate at which banks and financial institutions are adopting the cloud is exponentially growing. I think it's owed to two factors. One, there's a lot more comfort in terms of moving to cloud technologies. Many of the banks and financial institutions started with their non-core technologies, moving that out to cloud. I think that was the stepping stone for now considering the core technologies and core platforms to now move to the cloud as well. So there's been experience on the non-core technologies, and now it's going towards the core technologies. The second is the availability of cloud that have data centers in the country. So we have cloud platforms today who have a primary site, a DR site, or high available sites available within the country on soil, which is kind of paramount and key for banking and financial institutions to move their applications onto cloud because of data residency regulations that come into play. So my view of in the recent past, there's been an exponential move towards cloud from the banking and financial services industry.
Absolutely. I think the largest benefit which I think financial services will gain is scalability, growth, and nimbleness. One of the largest challenges today institutions have is onboarding and scalability in payments, and I think this will augment growth in terms of with this collaboration with cloud.
See, I represent corporate side of the bank. A consumer for me is consumer of my service. May not be an individual, but target markets that institutional banking would handle. Banking as a service is a very emerging theme. The emergence of payment transformation has given rise to fintechs and a lot of payment intermediaries. For a traditional bank like us, who looks at an institutional client being a corporate, handling this kind of ecosystem is a new thing. And for such an ecosystem, what matters is the scale. What matters is how fast they can scale horizontally and vertically. Cloud becomes part and parcel of this scalability. Cloud offers that agility, it provides that interoperability, it provides that integration layer that helps you scale in a shortest period of time. I think, again, API is part and parcel, it is a glue of the world. I can't think of APIs without cloud being complementary to it. So if BaaS has to become success, if we have to bring the last mile experience without being owning the client, banking as a service is crucial. For the success of banking as a service, cloud-based infrastructure and cloud offering, I think that's how I would look at cloud.
First of all, optimizing the cost itself, right? The ROI itself is going to be tremendously varying in terms of setting up your own infrastructure as to using a shared service and on cloud services. And then again, all of these aspects in terms of plug and play, you being able to transform as and when you wish, scale and bring in the required agility. So net, I think there are several factors which indeed are a win-win for financial institutions to really look at cloud and harness the potential of cloud.
As a consumer, I think the price, the cost that the banks actually incur while they go on the cloud comes much lesser. So that cost benefit definitely goes back to the consumers. Not just that, the pace at which the banks can adopt new changes, get new technologies, and then the consumer benefits from that. So the pace at which the banks can market their products, come out with innovative solutions, it really benefits the end customers. Yeah, so banks going on the cloud would ultimately benefit their end customers, like in any other business.
I think one of the best, one of the biggest benefits of cloud is the fact that from a financial institution standpoint, one is looking at quick time to market. I think that's the very, very big benefit. And given the pace of change that we are all living in today, given all that is happening on the infrastructure side, on the payment side, and so on and so forth, I think it's the pace of change is driving banks or financial institutions really to innovate very rapidly. Now, by that definition, again, taking services faster to the cloud is a great option, because cloud becomes the fastest means of getting those services to the end consumers, right? So by that definition, it's definitely there. Also, given the fact that what's going on with cloud APIs and these as a combination is helping people to access ecosystems that otherwise they were never in a position to access. So that has been a very interesting trend that we see, and I think that really is driving a pace of change within the way the consumers are also consuming services today.
So first benefit in terms of the new market products, like whatever you have to roll out, it is faster. The rollout implementation is faster when you are on the cloud, and with the minimalistic of the changes, you can go out to the market very fast. Second, in terms of the cost, that the cost is a big driver in terms of our implementation. So when you are on the cloud, the cost also lessens a bit, and then we can pass on to these price band to the customers for a good value.
I think it's twofold, if you ask me. One is everything to do with experience. You deliver better experience driven by faster rollout to market, agility to change to things that are changing in the ecosystem, and last but not the least, making it cheaper for consumers to access the products and services of banks and financial institutions. The second one is simply how technology is able to drive more agility within their businesses by adopting cloud technologies and platforms that are available. So as far as the end consumer is concerned, banks and financial institutions moving to the cloud is simply going to make it faster, better, cheaper for them to access banking services and products that are there.